a predator hiding in plain sight. That's how investigators described Israel Keyes, a man who weaponized patience and precision to become one of the most elusive serial killers in modern U.S. history. Keyes operated in the shadows for over a decade, traveling across the country to commit random murders and blending back into society so seamlessly that law enforcement didn't even realize they were dealing with a serial killer. This video will explore the chilling story of Israel Keyes, his calculated methods, the bizarre rules he followed, and the single mistake that led to his capture. By the end, you'll understand how this ordinary-looking man became one of the most dangerous predators of our time. Israel Keyes lived a double life. On the surface, he was a devoted father and boyfriend, the owner of a small construction business in Anchorage, Alaska. He had no criminal record, no outward signs of violence, and no apparent connection to his crimes. But beneath the facade was a man obsessed with control and chaos. His most chilling tactic? Pre-staging murder kits across the country. These kits, buried in remote locations years before they were used, contained weapons, restraints, cleaning supplies, and disguises. Keyes meticulously chose locations, forests, secluded parks, and isolated areas, so that when he decided to strike, everything he needed was already in place. Imagine hiking in the wilderness of Vermont, or fishing near a quiet lake in Washington. Beneath the ground could be a sealed bucket filled with tools of murder, hidden by Keyes, waiting to be unearthed. These kits weren't random, they were part of a calculated system designed to erase all evidence and patterns. Keyes buried at least 12 murder kits across 10 states. Each one represented a potential crime scene far removed from his home, ensuring no connection between the killer and his victims. If Keyes operated in 10 states and committed 11 known murders, the statistical likelihood of connecting these crimes without evidence or patterns becomes astronomically low. His randomness was his greatest weapon. What made Keyes nearly impossible to catch were the strict rules he followed, no patterns. He didn't target a specific type of victim. Men, women, the elderly, couples, no one was off limits. By avoiding predictable behaviors, Keyes ensured police couldn't link his crimes, kill far from home. He would fly to one state, rent a car, and drive hundreds of miles to commit a murder, sometimes crossing multiple state lines. This created jurisdictional confusion, as investigators didn't realize the crimes were connected. No children. Keyes had one peculiar moral boundary: he refused to harm children. In his confessions, he emphasized this rule, claiming it was his only line of decency. For years, these rules worked. Keyes left no fingerprints, DNA, or other evidence behind. Law enforcement described him as a ghost, a predator who left no trace. In February 2012, Keyes broke one of his cardinal rules. He killed close to home. This decision marked the beginning of his downfall. Samantha Koenig, an 18-year-old barista, was working the night shift at a coffee kiosk in Anchorage when Keyes abducted her. Unlike his usual victims, Samantha was local, and Keyes didn't travel out of state to commit the crime. Keyes held Samantha captive in a shed on his property, just steps away from his sleeping family. He assaulted and murdered her, then left her body in the shed while he went on a 2-week cruise with his girlfriend and daughter. When he returned, Keyes staged Samantha's corpse to appear alive. In one of the most macabre details of the case, he sewed her eyes open and photographed her holding a recent newspaper to create a convincing proof-of-life image. He then demanded a $30,000 ransom from her family, using Samantha's ATM card to withdraw the money in small amounts. Keyes' use of Samantha's ATM card was a critical mistake. Law enforcement tracked his withdrawals across several states, analyzing surveillance footage to identify his white Ford Focus. In March 2012, Texas Highway Patrol officers spotted the car and conducted a routine traffic stop. Keyes was arrested, and his connection to Samantha's disappearance quickly unraveled. Scenario analysis. Had Keyes adhered to his original rules, avoiding local victims and avoiding financial traces, he might never have been caught. But his decision to abduct and ransom Samantha created a trail that even his meticulous planning couldn't erase. Once in custody, Keyes confessed to at least 11 murders, though investigators believe there are more. His chilling accounts of stalking victims, burying kits, and executing his crimes with precision revealed a man who viewed murder as a calculated art form. Keyes' story is terrifying because he was ordinary. He wasn't the stereotypical monster lurking in the shadows. He was the man next door. The one who held the door open for you at the grocery store or waved politely as you passed him on the street. What makes Keyes unique among serial killers? Methodical planning. Most serial killers act impulsively or follow a specific compulsion. Keyes' approach was almost military-like, focusing on strategy and execution. Random targets. While most serial killers have a type, Keyes chose his victims at random, making him nearly impossible to profile. Mobility. His ability to travel across states and kill far from home eliminated any chance of linking his crimes geographically. Conclusion: the fragility of safety. Israel Keyes' story is a chilling reminder that evil can hide in plain sight. His ability to live a double life, loving father by day, cold-blooded killer by night, exposes the frightening reality that monsters don't always look like monsters. While his capture brought some closure, it also left many unanswered questions. How many more victims are out there? How many murder kits remain buried, waiting to be discovered? Keyes reminds us of the fragility of safety and the terrifying ingenuity of a true predator. His story isn't just about the crimes he committed, it's about the darkness that can exist behind the most unassuming of facades. Thank you for exploring this journey with me. If you find value in understanding these complex and often dark realities, please consider subscribing. Until next time, stay safe.